They searched for months. Russia denied the loss. The United States knew what happened. They knew exactly where the Soviet nuclear submarine lay, 3 miles deep, in pieces, carrying enough firepower to wipe out a major city. But what the CIA found when they reached that impossible depth was not just a missing submarine, and it was not just a hidden weapon. It was a file marked Top Secret, and its recovery triggered the most dangerous, audacious, and morally complex mission of the entire Cold War. The year was 1968. The Cold War was not a battlefield of tanks and trenches, but an invisible war, fought beneath the waves, in the icy void of space, and inside the minds of men. It was a time of suffocating paranoia, where the stakes weren't just territory, but the fate of the entire human species. In the vast, crushing silence of the Pacific Ocean, somewhere northwest of Hawaii, a Soviet submarine known as K-129 was on a routine, classified patrol. A missile boat designed to be the ultimate unseen deterrent, carrying 3 deadly R-21 nuclear missiles. The crew, over 90 men strong, knew the dangers. They understood the claustrophobia of their metal tomb, the constant struggle against the crushing pressure of the deep. But they were professionals, guardians of the motherland's secret punch. They pushed deeper into the patrols, maintaining radio silence, their existence a calculated threat to the American coastline. Then, without a warning, without a distress signal, the K-129 simply vanished.
The Soviet Navy, initially denying any loss, grew frantic behind the Iron Curtain. A frantic, months-long search ensued across the frigid waters, conducted in absolute secrecy. They sought the boat, the men, and most terrifyingly, the nuclear payload that was now resting somewhere at the bottom of the world. But the Soviets found nothing. The Pacific had swallowed the 73-meter-long beast whole, along with all her secrets. For Moscow, the loss was a disaster, a profound embarrassment. For Washington, however, it was a sudden, terrifying opportunity.
If you're fascinated by the classified operations and forgotten mysteries of the Cold War, you are in the right place. Hit that subscribe button now and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of the other declassified stories we're about to uncover on Project X-File. Now, let's dive back in.
The American military, and specifically the intelligence community, had been listening. They possessed a revolutionary acoustic surveillance system known as SOSUS, a network of hydrophones secretly laid on the seabed, designed to listen for the distinctive noise patterns of Soviet vessels. In April 1968, SOSUS picked up a sound, an anomalous, brief, and violent acoustic event in the North Pacific. After painstaking analysis, the analysts at the U.S. Navy's Office of Naval Intelligence zeroed in. They had the signature of a catastrophic implosion and an approximate location. The K-129 was found, not by the Soviets, but by the very enemy it was sent to intimidate. The wreck was discovered nearly 1,560 miles, 2,510 kilometers, northwest of Hawaii, resting at an impossible depth of 16,500 feet, 5,000 meters. It was a treasure trove of unimaginable military intelligence. The prize? The Soviet code books, the naval operating procedures, and those 3 deadly nuclear missiles. The stakes had just been raised to astronomical heights.
This was the height of the Cold War. Stealing a Soviet nuclear submarine from the floor of the Pacific Ocean, a task that defied physics and logic, was not just espionage. It was a military coup that could shift the balance of power overnight. The conventional military couldn't touch it. This required the level of secrecy and audacity that only the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, could provide. The project was codenamed Project Azorian, and it was perhaps the most ambitious, complex, and expensive intelligence operation in human history. The budget? Over $800 million in 1970s money, billions today. But how do you fish a 1,700-ton steel wreck from 3 miles down without the world or the Soviet Union noticing? The answer was engineering genius hidden behind an elaborate, perfect disguise.
This incredible story only exists because dedicated researchers and whistleblowers dared to reveal the truth. Support this kind of deep research by leaving a like on the video. It genuinely helps us bring more hidden history to light. The CIA needed a cover story so fantastical, so outlandish, that no one would ever question it. They found their perfect beard in a figure almost as mythical as the K-129 itself, Howard Hughes. The eccentric billionaire, known for his grand, impossible projects, publicly announced he was building the Hughes Glomar Explorer, HGE, a massive, custom-built deep-sea mining ship. The official story? Hughes was pioneering the mining of manganese nodules from the seabed, a completely plausible, if ambitious, corporate endeavor. But beneath the Glomar's innocent facade was a hidden secret, a massive internal well known as the Moon Pool, and a gigantic, custom-built mechanical claw nicknamed Clementine, designed to clamp onto the submarine's wreck and slowly lift it to the surface. It took years to design, build, and test. Every gear, every hydraulic piston, every foot of drill pipe was an unprecedented challenge against the immense destructive power of the deep. They were not just building a ship, they were building a massive deep ocean time machine designed to retrieve the enemy's lost secrets. In the summer of 1974, after years of meticulous preparation, the Glomar Explorer finally reached the recovery site. The atmosphere on board was electric, suffocating with tension. Hundreds of men, engineers, sailors, and CIA operatives masquerading as mining crew worked around the clock. The process was agonizingly slow. Drill pipe segments were lowered one by one, forming a fragile chain extending 3 miles down to the resting place of the K-129. Days turned into weeks. The Soviet Navy, always suspicious, had spotted the Glomar. They sent their own surveillance ships, nicknamed Tattletales, circling the Glomar Explorer constantly, their presence a silent, terrifying reminder that failure was not an option. Any mistake, any hint of the Glomar's true purpose could trigger an international crisis, perhaps even war. The Glomar's crew maintained their poker faces, feigning disinterest, keeping up the charade of mining for nodules while performing the most delicate, dangerous intelligence operation in history.
And then, after weeks of slow-motion effort, Clementine, the massive claw, finally made contact. A moment of shared, hushed breath filled the control room. The claw engaged. The massive lifting operation began. Slowly, agonizingly, the mangled pieces of the K-129 were being hauled across 3 miles of water. The tension was almost unbearable. They had overcome the physics. Now they faced the final, terrifying moment of truth. Would the wreck hold? Could the claw maintain its grip against the immense forces? And then, disaster struck. The CIA had planned for everything, except perhaps the sheer fragility of a hull crushed by 16,500 feet of water. Just as the wreck was halfway up, something gave way. The sound was not heard by the crew, but felt, a sickening drop in tension on the hull line. The K-129, broken into pieces during the retrieval, failed spectacularly. 2/3 of the wreck broke off and tumbled back down to the abyssal plain, lost forever. Panic erupted. The prize, the majority of the submarine, the codebooks, the majority of the nuclear missiles, it was gone. Decades of planning, millions of dollars, and the highest stakes in history, all lost in an instant.
But the mission was not a total failure, as the surviving section of the submarine, estimated to be about 40 feet, 12 meters, of the forward bow section, was finally hoisted into the moon pool. The CIA realized they had still found something of immense value. Inside that relatively small section were the bodies of 6 Soviet sailors, and crucially, they had recovered 2 of the 3 nuclear torpedoes, along with crucial documents and technology. The information retrieved, though partial, was invaluable, giving the CIA insights into Soviet missile technology and naval procedures they could never have obtained otherwise. The recovery of the bodies, however, led to an extraordinary human moment in the heart of the Cold War. The CIA, deciding to honor the fallen, arranged a full, solemn burial at sea, complete with military honors and a reading from the burial service of the Soviet Navy. This gesture, captured on film and later presented to the Soviets, was a rare moment of humanity breaking through the icy facade of global conflict.
Project Azorian was both a massive failure and an undeniable success. If you want to see more files like this one, stories of technological genius, ethical dilemmas, and the most incredible secrets of the Cold War, make sure you're subscribed to Project X-File. Tap the notification bell to join the investigation.
Project Azorian was both a massive failure and an undeniable success. It was a failure in its primary goal, retrieving the entire submarine, but it was a success in its technological audacity, proving that the impossible could be achieved, and, more importantly, a success in retrieving critical pieces of the puzzle. The true story of the K-129, the Glomar Explorer, and Project Azorian remains one of the greatest and strangest intelligence feats of the 20th century. A chilling reminder that beneath the calm surface of the sea, the silent war was always raging, and sometimes the biggest discoveries are made not in what you find, but in the extraordinary lengths you go to hide what you found.